President Eisenhower won the 1952 election, partially on his promise to end the war, but mostly on his name and reputation as a hero of World War II. His victory statement, "I like Ike," probably won't play. Yes. "I like Ike" became the rallying cry for America as he won a sweeping victory in 1952 and in 1956, literally making him the president of the 1950s. Eisenhower worked to reduce the tensions of the Cold War. On the home front, he saw the creation of the interstate highway system. This video that we're going to show is a commercial, political commercial that would have been on the TVs in the 1950s to encourage you to vote for Ike.
Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president.
Very catchy, isn't it? The threat of communism, however, loomed. Republicans tried to link Democrats with the communists and China, and saying that the war was going badly because the Democratic administration was sympathetic to China. On February 9th, 1950, Senator Joseph McCarthy from Wisconsin presented a list of 205 people in the U.S. State Department who he said were sympathetic to the communist movement. With the help of the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, the next 4 years would become the second Red Scare. In 1952, the Republicans would use the Red Scare to get Eisenhower and Nixon elected to the White House. Now, as I said, they used Korea as part of the Red Scare. Republicans attempted to connect Democrats to communism. The war was going badly because the Democrats were sympathetic. So this led to huge investigations. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover did security checks on over 6 million government workers, trying to determine who was supportive to the communist philosophy. In 1947, the House Un-American Activities Committee began investigating how deeply communists were subverted into the nation. And in 1950, the McCarran Act required all communist organizations to register with the government and provide lists of members. Keep in mind, in today and even in the 1950s, when there began to be challenges to these acts and these committees, it was declared unconstitutional. The First Amendment to the Constitution states that you have the right of freedom of assembly. In other words, you can hang out with whoever you want to, and it's none of the government's business. This was argued it was a situation of national security. McCarthy, Senator McCarthy, from 1950 to 1954, he dominated the hunt for communists. However, his unfounded accusations destroyed careers of numerous people, numerous innocent American citizens, and really kind of fed this hysteria of communists being everywhere. This is known as McCarthyism. I spy, you spy. Spies and spying seem like such sensational Hollywood ideals these days, but spying was a reality in the 1950s. Even after the Republicans were in the White House, McCarthy refused to stop the witch hunt. He even accused former President Truman of being a communist. 2 actual spies were caught during this decade. A married couple, the Rosenbergs, Ethel and Julius Rosenberg, were tried, convicted, and executed for spying for the United States, or for the Soviet Union, excuse me. They were convicted and sentenced to death. They were executed even though many groups protested their execution. Now, the end of McCarthyism really came when I'll show you in a slider. So as I was saying earlier, Joseph McCarthy attacked numerous people. And McCarthyism brought huge attention to not just McCarthy, but to a lot of others that he attacked. Well, in 1954, this would lead to his downfall. He decided to launch investigations into the U.S. Army, once again stating that they must be communists, otherwise we would have won in Korea. So these wild accusations were hurled at highly respected Army officials, and McCarthy's Army hearings become televised. 1950s television is pretty big deal. Most people have a television by now, and this is really the turning point. They were on TV. This is the end for McCarthy, because instead of being somebody highly respected, he is now viewed as a bully who had little to no evidence to support his accusations. So he was discredited, all because he thought too much of himself, because he thought he was proving some sort of point. Instead, he gets thrown out the window. He doesn't win elections. He was censured, which means limited on what he could say by the Senate, basically told to shut up. It's really his demise at this point.